much.
It's been a few days, Sean.
It has been. It has been.
It's been a few days, but we're back.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we were here on the couch, we had some good station.
We did. We talked about our secret wedding in Iowa.
Mm-hmm. On my birthday.
On your birthday. We talked about all of the competing priorities that we had going on. Graduate school, planning for the big wedding in Chicago, having to relocate, you becoming a Zeta, having to relocate for the agency, all of those competing things. We talked about that.
Oh, how we were in the hotel room, how we were stuck in the hotel for a couple of months.
Yep.
We were displaced
with the dog and the fish.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the big wedding.
Oh, we talked about the big wedding.
Yeah, we talked about how we planned the big wedding and how it ended up being more so about the guest than us and all of those things. So we talked about a lot in the last episode.
We did. We did. Mm-hmm. What did you title tonight's conversation?
A cracked foundation.
You saying a lot. You saying a lot.
Because, baby, listen, let me tell you how.
You saying a lot.
A house or a building on a cracked foundation, child, it ain't not good for nobody.
It ain't work.
It's not.
A cracked foundation. So, at this point, we're married.
We are.
Okay? This is no longer a Ashley and Sean situation.
Oh, you so
girl.
shady.
This is no longer you know, a ventriloquist type of situation. Yolanda is
This is no longer a Candy and Nicole situation. You know what I'm saying? It's none of that.
Ooh.
Since we want to do that.
You know, girl, the man is gone. You know, remember we told you what we told you, girl.
Yeah.
You know, and all of the things. And so now we're married. We're married. We have relocated and bought our second home. We're still with State Farm, but we've crossed over from being employees to independent contractors. We're contracted with them now.
And let's get up on the fact that by the time we actually got a chance to move into our home, which was a few days before my birthday, we literally had 2 months to get everything in place for the agency. That's right.
So the business opens and it's very successful on paper. On paper, okay? They put us through this 12-month process where you have to meet or exceed all of these benchmarks that corporate requires. You have to hit all these sales goals. You and your team have to jump through hoops for 12 months.
Yep.
Some people make it, some people don't. Okay? Some people, you know, get their contract and some people don't. And we did. If you don't, now it's stressful because if you don't, you got a lot of 6 figures or close to 6 figures of your own money invested. We done relocated and sold our first home and bought a second home. You know, we've got all this skin in the game.
Yeah.
So it was extremely stressful for over a year. So we go through this, we get our contract. Sean and I are kind of looking at each other like, whoo, murder. Baby, you know, we good, right? In the midst of me feeling the corporate pressure, there's some things that's going on with Sean that I now know that during this time, I knew nothing about.
Did not know.
You want to talk about that?
So in the midst of this corporate pressure that Candy was feeling, you have to understand she was the head honcho, okay? She was the HBIC, as you will, which means that she was the agent and I was her office manager. We told you in the last episode how she approached me and was like, I really want you to come out of your role and help me with the agency. And I said, oh, okay. So I decided to do that. I wanted to support her. So I left my role in the company on the corporate side and joined her on the agency side as her office manager. Now, understanding and knowing that we all know that when it comes to a business, everything rolls from the top down. Okay. So Candy is being hit with all of these demands. Your team has to do this. You need this many numbers. You got to do that. So of course, now that rolls down to me. She comes to me. She's like, hey, Chaun, this is what I need. I need you to make sure the team is doing X, Y, and Z. We need to have this, this, and that. And this is what I need to see. I need to see this on a daily basis. She breaks it down all the way to, if we need this many on this day, that means we need to do this per hour. And like, it was like this, okay?
Yeah. And I was like, X amount of people in the office. So yeah.
So it was very much so drill that thing all the way down. And then this is what I expect. And this is what I expect of you as the office manager. Okay, fine. I don't mind that. I understand. She's my supervisor. Okay, if you want to really put it into perspective, this is my wife, but she is now my manager. She is my supervisor. This is who I report to. Okay, so when I'm handling all the day-to-day of the business and the agency, I have to report back to Candy to let her know what happened, the details, and all of that. Okay,
but it's not like a corporate situation.
No.
Where you get paid regardless.
Where you get paid, no.
This is like either we do it, or if we misstep, what I say and what's love got to do with it, you'll be frying chicken in the morning. Okay, right. Jackie? Okay, Jackie?
Exactly.
So,
everything hinges on what we do. So I noticed that my wonderful wife that treated me like everything was the best and I was the best and she loves me more than anything in the world and everything like that, I started to see a different side of her in this managerial role. And I was like, I don't know how this is making me feel. This is not making me feel very well. And what I mean by that, let me give you some context. She would get information from the people that she had to report back to and things like that. And then she would come back to me and be like, why are we not hitting this? Why are we not hitting these benchmarks? What's going on? We would have team meetings in the office and I have to stand in front of her and the employees that we have in the office working in the agency, and it was like she was not letting up. I don't care whether we was at home, in the car, or in front of the employees. If I'm not satisfied with something, I'm going to let you know. And she did just that. To the point where there were times where she was like, this is unacceptable, woo up the bam. Like there was no kind of I don't even know how to explain it. There was no
professionalism?
Not even professionalism. There was no softness to it. It was this, okay? And then not only did I have to deal with that in front of the employees and having to deal with that and the stresses of it all, then you have to understand we worked in Chicago, which was about an hour or so from our home. So then after we got through in the office, now we have to get in the car. And this wasn't like your normal 9 to 5. You know how when you're at work, you clock out at 5 and that's it. We're done. I don't got to think about it no more. I am now in off work mode and we don't have to discuss it. Oh, no. That is not how this went. That went, okay, we're leaving the office. Now for the next hour and a half, I'm going to still continue to tell you how dissatisfied I am, how you need to do better, how the team needs to do better, how things have to shape up, how important this is, and you don't understand and all of that. And I have to deal with that on the ride home as well. Then if it wasn't quite resolved, not only do we deal with it in the car, now we're dealing with it at home. So it was a situation where it was around the clock, to the point where for me, and I have to speak into my issue, it started to make me feel, it didn't make me feel as good as it once did. I didn't feel the fuzzy feelings anymore. I didn't feel the, oh, you know, you're beautiful, you're this, I love you, that and the third. I wasn't feeling that anymore. And I didn't know how in my brain to cut it off. I didn't know how to look at her and compartmentalize, when we're at work, this is Candace the agent. And when we're not at work, this is my wife, Candy. Like I couldn't separate the two. And because of that, it was breaking me down to the point where I couldn't even connect with her anymore. It was just nonstop, like not necessarily resentment, but I just felt like, I don't like this. This is not a good feeling. I don't like how this is making me feel. I don't like how I'm being treated. I just don't like it. But this is the kicker. Did I ever once tell you any of this?
No.
Did I ever once express how any of this made me feel?
No.
How you expect anybody to do something or change or reflect on it if you don't say anything? So my issue that I had for a very long time, not just within the agency, but for times before and well after, was my lack of communication. Me not being able to speak up and say, okay, wait a minute, we need to find balance. We need to find a better way. I understand this is stressful, but we have to have a cutoff. Let's say we talk about business until 5 o'clock and then we done with it. Like I can't continue to deal with this all the way up until the time I get ready to shower and go to bed. Like it's got to be some type of, okay, our work life and our married life. I never spoke up. I never said anything. And how unfair to Candy was that? How unfair is that? How can you hold somebody accountable or be upset or irritated on the inside and you don't never speak up to the person that you're irritated with? That's not fair to them.
I felt it in other ways. Cause when I was looking for, we married. We're newlyweds.
We are.
But we're homeowners, we're business owners, we have a lot of stress on us. We have a team, but we go from being claims adjusters, making, let's say $50,000 or so a year, to now, just like that in a matter of months, they promoted me and put me in a position where we're making maybe first year $350,000 a year. But you got all this responsibility. You got team. You've got retail space that you got to rent. You got business bills. You got business insurance. I had liability, like all this different errors and omission insurance. We had all this stuff. We had so much stuff just coming at us, and I'm in my 20s. And so in my mind, I just kept saying, Chaun, this is our one shot. We don't come from nothing. You see what I'm saying? And everybody on both sides of the family was looking at us like, you made it. You see what I'm saying? Y'all made it. Like we had this big grand opening. State Farm has this mascot, or they did back in the day, called the Neighbor. Girl, we hired the Neighbor to come do photo ops with the people, girl. People, like we literally, when I say it was a big ordeal, it was a big ordeal. And everybody was looking like, OMG, like y'all, oh my God, y'all did this. And so I'm looking at Chaun like, girl, we got 12 months. We gotta do the impossible. And so hindsight is 2020. Everything she's saying is 100% accurate. And I'm looking for a safe place to land. And I'm looking at my wife like, I'm riding you and I'm hard on you, because if we get this thing together, we have to jump through all these hoops this year. But then we build this thing out correctly. And I'm sitting in corporate meetings and stuff with these older agents, and they have these big, massive teams and, multiple locations and stuff like that. And I'm like, we do this, we can ride this gravy train for the rest of our lives. And we can hire employees to run this whole thing, have different departments, have a marketing department, a social media department, a customer service department, a sales department. We can have all this within our own umbrella, our own franchise, so to speak. And if we work hard for, let's say, 3 to 5 years, that was my plan, you never have to work again. So I'm looking at Chaun like, we got one shot. Otherwise, we got to go back to, working a 9 to 5, which is fine. But then you got to work we got to work for the rest of our lives. So Chaun looking at me like, I understand the assignment, but sis, so I'm looking for some cookie at this point. Cause now we done got off work. Now this is my wife. We newlyweds. We ain't got no kids to come home to. Right. I'm trying to snuggle up and get close. And every time I try to snuggle up and get close, girl, I'm getting met with a no. Not a not right now. Not a, not tonight, babe. Maybe tomorrow. I'm getting met with a no. Pull the covers over. And I'm like, hold on, shorty. We just got married.
Right. So to put it all into perspective, all of the feelings that I was feeling on the inside, that cut the oven off. There were no cookies being baked. because in my mind, my mental was in a state where, to be honest, I don't even really like you right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm supposed to, no, I ain't gonna be able to do that. I ain't gonna be able to do that. Because you just said X, Y, and Z to me for the last hour and a half in the car and was going and going. And you think I'm supposed to then be like, okay, let's go. No, thank you. I don't want to. But again, that goes back to that lack of communication. This, had I just opened it up and said, hey, this is what I'm feeling. I'm having an issue because blah, blah, blah. Don't you think, as much as this woman loved me, when she sat here on this couch and told you guys what she did for me to propose to me, you don't think this woman would have said, okay, we'll figure this thing out? I took that from her.
Yeah.
I took it from her. And was selfish and was like, no, I don't want to.
Because let's be honest, and this is true for most people. Most people, when they look at what they do for a living, or for the people who are retired, when you look at what you did for a living, that was just a means to an end. Mm-hmm. You were really just trying to provide for your family.
Right.
You were really just trying to take care of yourself. Most people were not married to their career.
Right.
And nobody grows up and says, you know what, baby, I got it. I'm finna change the game. I want to sell insurance. Girl, nobody says that.
Right.
So we only ended up at State Farm to begin with because that's the major player in town. Mm-hmm. You know, when we graduated, you know, from college, that was like the dream job in that area.
Right.
You know, State Farm had 65,000 employees, and probably 30 or 40,000 was right there in central Illinois where we live. Mm-hmm. So girl, if you were it, you worked for State Farm in some capacity. So that's how we ended up there. It wasn't like, girl, I'm following my dreams and you intruding on my dreams. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at Chaun like, girl, I'm just trying to set us up so that I could give you a good life. I'm a protector and provider by nature. Mm-hmm. This just happens to be the opportunity that came to me that we were blessed with. So it's me wanting to maximize this opportunity, right? To give you everything you didn't have growing up. But we got to hustle to get there. Mm-hmm. We got to grind to get there.
Right.
And
so let's get up on that. Let's take this thing a step further. So now the intimacy is lacking. I'm just saying no. Every now and then I'll be like, all right, whatever. But for the most part, I'm like, no. Let's take this thing a step further. So me, now that I can think about it now in my more mature, older age, I take my selfishness even a step further.
What you do, Mark?
I say, oh, okay. You don't want to hit me with the I miss you text during the day. You don't want to hit me with the you're beautifuls. You don't want to, woo and swoo me like you once did. You don't want to do all this. If you don't want to do all that, guess what? Somebody else will. Mm-hmm. Somebody else will. Don't worry about it. You go ahead and focus on the stresses of this agency and doing all that and looking at me as just your office manager. Oh, but I trust there's somebody else that I can get that validation from. There's somebody else that will tell me that they think I'm beautiful and that I'm pretty and that I'm smart and that they like me and they appreciate me. Somebody else will do it. So then I go out there and I get on these little chat sites and this, that, and the third, just having conversation because I needed that validation. I needed those warm and fuzzy feelings. I needed that to be able to keep pushing forward and doing what I'm doing every day. But guess what? Candy didn't know about that. She didn't know about none of that. None of it. And let's take it a step further. So now that y'all can really start throwing tomatoes and fruit at me, let's take it a step further. Not only was I doing that, then this young lady that happened to be one of Candy's customers starts to show me a little bit of attention.
In our State Farm office.
Oh, now it's somebody face to face. All these other ones was just people, God knows where, just talking, just chatting, just, these people don't even have my phone number. They don't even know whatever, just whatever, right? Going off of like, whatever. Now this young lady comes into the office. She's like, what's your story? What's going on? She knows we're married. Oh.
Of course, I'm her agent.
This is your wife's situation, right? Okay. So then she starts to flirt with me and she starts to talk or whatever to me and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is interesting. Now the game gets a little bit more fun because now it's a personal person in my face that I can actually interact with and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So I take it a step further. So now, I'm starting to entertain this young lady.
Yeah.
So
what does entertain consist of?
So entertain consists of the flirty text messages back and forth. Now remember, this is one of Candy's customers. I had to meet this young lady at her house for life insurance policies because I had to get her signature in person. So I had to go to her house. Now there was no full on. Let me just try to do it tactfully. There was no full on interaction between me and this young lady.
What was the interaction?
It was the very first time was strictly business. That I will say. The very first time I strictly just went to her house to get her signatures. Her son was there. Everything. It was like real above board. But then after that, it was hey, I want to see you. What you doing? I'm like, oh, I mapped it out in my head. And I was like, well, I got to drive, like times where Candy wouldn't be in the office. Okay, well, I got to drive home. Maybe I'll leave 30 minutes early from the office. I'll stop and see her on my way home. And then the timeline still kind of made sense from the time that I normally would have left the office and the time that I get home. So I'm dipping off and I'm going to see this young lady, just hanging out with her. We sitting and chit-chatting and stuff like that. And it's just all the flirtations back and forth, and all of that. Playing with fire, if you will. Because this is the type of stuff that you do and you get to a point where you no longer can control it and you get burned. Thankfully, I never got burned, but I was playing with it to the point where I was like almost touching the flames.
What was the physical interaction between y'all? I know you said nothing happened the first time.
Oh, there was no physical.
The kissing and
No, there was no physical.
There was never any kissing or anything?
There was hugs. There was no physical.
Okay.
That's why I said, but I played with it so tough where had the situation, had I not been able to control it, could very well have gone too far.
How did that line get crossed, right? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm the agent. You are my office manager. Who said what? What happened where both of y'all knew, okay, green light? You see what I'm saying? Like there had to been, somebody had to have said or done something that was, for lack of a better description, inappropriate.
Yeah, so she would start flirting with me and I didn't stop it. So she would say something flirty like, you're really cute or whatever. And I wouldn't stop it. I fed into it.
Because so this again, is when she was just calling to pay her bill, or
no, this was like calling to pay her bill or texting. Because remember we had a business phone.
Okay.
So it was a texting thing. Yeah. So it was a matter of me not saying, "Hey, no, it ain't none of that. This is my wife. It's none of that. Like I'm here to help you with your insurance business, but that's it. I didn't do that. I fell into it because again, this was feeding the need and the stuff that I wanted.
Okay. So you initiated it?
No, she initiated it.
She initiated it and you just fed.
And I just fed into it.
Got it.
Fed into it, played in it, and then it switched because I'm the type of person where now I want to try to make you want me as much as you possibly can, all in the knowing that you're really not going to, but that's the playful part of me. That's the playful part of me. That's the, how far can I push the envelope? How badly can I make you want me? Because that's just, it's probably, some people would say that's sick and that's sad or whatever, but that was the part of me.
Right. It was feeding something that wasn't being fed.
Yeah.
There was a gap.
Yeah.
I left the opening.
Yeah.
Okay. So this continued for a while.
It did.
This continued for a while. And as you, I guess, look back on it, what was your takeaway?
So my biggest takeaway, I have several. Number one, communicate. You have to be able to communicate, express your feelings, and be able to let anybody know, whether it's a family member, whether it's your partner, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a child, no matter who it is, be able to express yourself and let that person know how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way.
Okay.
Number 2 is learning how to set boundaries. Not only did I not set boundaries with you and I, saying, hey, babe, maybe we should figure out a different way to do this. I also didn't set boundaries with these other people, especially the young lady that was your customer. The line should have never been crossed. That should have been a hard boundary. You're a whole married woman, Chaun. Get your life. Okay? And then the third thing that I took away from that is you got to have self-control. Like, you are not a child. And you are not a person where just because something feels good, that's what you're supposed to have. You got to have a level of self-control. And some would say, well, you did because you didn't go there. Well, no, you didn't, because I still went against the sanctity of my marriage. I disrespected my wife. I cheated on her. I did all of these things. So no, there was no self-control.
And this was going on and this continued, and I didn't know.
And she had no idea.
So we talking about a timeline where we're giving you the series of events, and we're giving you the series of events in the order that it happened. But this is us looking back at the situation. I was none the wiser.
Right.
So I'm steadily making more and more and more plans for the business, for my new wife and I, for the possibility of a future family, all of these things. How long did this situation with this young lady go on, roughly?
I would probably say about a year.
Okay, about a year.
About a year.
About a year. This continued. We're telling you this, that it went on for about a year, because when we come back next time, we're going to talk about how we were planning to have a baby. Fertility is what happened next. All while cheating is going on in the background, and I didn't even know about it. See you next time.